I love the color paint job. It's sort of subtle and yet it stands out at the same time. But you know why it looks so good? It's because this airplane did look pretty bad. They've renamed this airplane, just this particular airplane, they call it Dorothy. That comes from the Wizard of Oz. And that they gave it that whimsical name because this airplane was at Sun and Fun 2011, when, as most of our visitors know, viewers know, was a year of a tornado. And this airplane is one of them that got trashed pretty badly. Let me see if I can go through some of the stuff that happened to this airplane after I close that door. First of all, the airplane went completely upside down. Did in the vertical stabilizer. They had to replace that and the rudder. Did both of these nice winglets out on each end of the wing when it went over. Scraped up the top of the fuselage, bent the wing struts, and as it went over, it hit a pole and destroyed the horizontal stabilizer as well. They said just getting that off was a multi-hour job. So this airplane has been completely redone and looks better than I remember it looking back when it wasn't named Dorothy. So this is the Jabiru J230, and this particular one has been through the mill, but you can't tell it anymore. This is a really nice job these folks did after suffering that loss at Sun and Fun 2011. It's looking great again. The Jabiru on the other side, which doesn't favor our camera view angles for the sunshine. This is the only light sport aircraft on the market with 3 doors. If your camera can see inside there's a little door lever in the back, and there's one up here in the front. So that shows the 2 doors into there, and of course this is the 3rd. Why does it have all those doors? Just to make for easy access to its gigantic cargo area? No, because in Australia, where this is a kit airplane, or it can be that here, is a 4-seater. So this is really a 4-seat. It'll be a little snug 4-seater, I'm thinking, but it'll seat 4 people, and that's why it has a door in the back as well. In the light sport aircraft market, of course, it can only have 2 seats, and so they've got probably the biggest cargo area of any light sport I'm familiar with, and they've got a big door to get in it. So I think we need to go inside this airplane because the inside is executed quite well too. And so that we have you on the right side, I'm going to go around the other side and let you look in here. Now inside what is N733 Juliet, otherwise affectionately known as Dorothy to the folks there at Jabiru Aircraft USA, located in Shelbyville, Tennessee, where they took this airplane back and redid it completely, as we just discussed. You know, this is one of those airplanes that as we walk up to it, we kind of think, gee, that's a really small airplane. There's not going to be room inside there for me. In fact, once you get inside the airplane, it's really quite a roomy airplane. It has very nicely executed doors with nice finish to them, with little stash pockets on both sides, and easy access to pull the door closed to it. And you see how wide open they open. Well, that makes it a lot easier for many of us to get in and out of these things. But here we've got a full panel in it. I'm not sure which of the Dynon screens here this is. I think this might be a 180. It's not lit up today, and we don't need to have them do that. With the Garmin 795 in the middle. And so this is a very nice bit of equipment in here, but there's some interesting qualities to it beside what's on the panel, because we do see these kinds of things on the panel a lot, but there's a couple interesting things I want to point out. First of all, just while we got into the airplane here, look, somebody walked up and went, well, that's a neat stick, and indeed it is. Here, right in front of my hand, it's a 2-sided stick. It's the same stick. It doesn't have them on each side. That means you've got a lot more room here. You can bend down. You don't have anything in your way. And you'd fly, well, I guess you could use either side if you wanted, but you got a beautiful armrest, something I always like. It anchors your arm, if you will, so that your motions are smaller. Because it doesn't take a lot to fly these airplanes around. Just small movements. I don't want to go too far. They may have it secured. And in front of that, we've got our brake handle. So if you're using the brake, you're not on the stick because you're not flying anymore. You're on the ground. So then you move your hand forward and do that. But another thing I like, and we saw this on the AT3 as well, AT4 as well, we've got throttles on both sides here. In front of each of my hands, there's a throttle, both on the outside. So the pilot, if seated, or the instructor seated on the left, flies with his left hand, uses the throttle with his right hand. Or if I do the same thing over here, right hand on the stick, left hand on the throttle. That makes for a real nice arrangement. There's no reaching across the canopy or cockpit to do things. In addition, you notice on the doors here, there's no vents. And you've got to wonder, well, would this get kind of hot in the summertime? Well, maybe, but you've got some nice openings down here, and these don't look that big, but they're actually quite large openings, and that's going to let in a lot of air, and I can see it's aimed practically right at me. So I think that's going to make for a pretty comfortable environment. But then what I like to do in this airplane, I love the cockpit side of it, of course, but this thing just goes on and on. I can't hear. I'm reaching as far as I can reach I've got to be 2 feet short of the rear bulkhead. You can put more stuff, you can almost sleep back here if you figured out how you wanted to get back there and do so. It's a really comfortable cruising airplane. It's fast. They normally equip this with the Jabiru 3300. That's a 120 horsepower engine, and this little airplane will scoot right near the top of the category. Also carries a nice price point. I don't want to quote prices here, but I think it's just a shade over 100,000. Of course, depending on how you equip it. When you load it up quite this way, it's going to add a bit more. And I think this has, I see autopilot on it as well, so it's got kind of the works on it. But even then, this is a very reasonably priced airplane, and although it's an Australian design and still being made in Australia as a kit, it's an American production because these folks bring in a kit, literally, from Australia. Comes in a box, fiberglass parts. They put it all together from the ground up, glue the pieces together, add the engine, add the gear, add the panel, all the rest of that stuff that any manufacturer would do. They do that in Shelbyville, Tennessee. That's a little bit south of Nashville.
And the airplane is also, I understand, Dan, available as an experimental aircraft.
It is. It actually goes kind of both ways. I think they will sell it to you as an SLSA. That's fully manufactured. That's what we're sitting in. You can also have it as an ELSA, meaning any level of kit, and that also means anybody can build it for you. So it doesn't have to be you. Or you can have it as an amateur built, which means you need to build it. That's the 51% rule, although that's not the official name of it, where the owner has to do that much of the total work. So you can have it pretty much all 3 ways, and of course, the more work you do, the lower that price comes down.
So if we want to get some more information on the airplane, Dan, where would we go?
Well, we can go to a couple of different sites. Let's go to the manufacturer site first. That's the U.S. manufacturer I just stressed, and that's usjabiru.com. Jabiru is Jabiru, usjabiru.com. I also have information and pilot reports on it on my site, which is bydanjohnson.com or bydanjohnson.com. And you can find this and many other videos on aircraftreporters.tv.